All right, so my name is Johannes, and I'm happy to tell you a little bit about how we at J&J think about AI and how we are using it. And also, we have only 2 more to go before coffee waits for lunch. So before I sort of start telling you more sort of concrete examples, I wanted to just tell you a little bit about what the motivation, why we use AI and where. And I mean, we heard a lot about this, but I first wanted to remind us what we all do. And I mean, everybody here, and in a way, everybody who is working or who is living a professional life. And with that, go to slide 2. I wanted to, basically put it as, the great Daniel Kahneman did it, and this is pretty much means that any company, at heart what it is, right, is about making decisions. Huh? And when thinking about making decisions, so we heard, yesterday, Steve in his keynote introduction, he talked about, operational excellence and how we can improve the decision-making process. We had Dave from Deloitte who was making the case that it doesn't always have to be sort of the, transformative big idea. There's a lot of value to be had in automating workflows, and speed to decision as a huge value. And that's, we fully agree. I just want to add that there's also something to be said about the quality of the decision. Huh? And when we think about how, we all pride ourselves in making data-driven decisions. And I mean, for the longest time, that looks something like this, right? Where you start with a bunch of data somewhere, often in a bunch of Excel sheets or databases. Then we do all kinds of dashboards, visualizations, and sort of things, and we look at that, and we have a meeting. If we are lucky, often we have a series of meetings. And at the end of the meeting, there is a decision, right? And that process has been working fine for many years, and in some situations this is really what we have to do. But there's built-in problems with this, huh? And the 2 problems are sort of illustrated here. The first one is, at this day and age, right, we have so much data about almost any decision we are going to make that we end up like the guy on the left and really feel like going to the pub instead. Huh? The other is that when looking at visualizations and plots and correlation graphs and whatnot, we tend to sort of reinforce what we thought before, unless it's really blatantly visible that sort of our experience, our bias, the problem we are looking at isn't right. So this is all what Daniel Kahneman's about, right? It's about this experience bias that no matter how you look at the data yourself, you sort of reinforce your preconceived notion, and you end up making a decision, and you think you have read through all the data, but in reality you sort of have fooled yourself a little bit on the way. Now AI, as we all know, right, is in a way you're perfectly set up to overcome those 2. So it's not only about speed, it's really a lot about the quality of the decision you're making. Huh? And so in Johnson & Johnson, we have sort of 3 areas, I think, where we deploy AI. And so the first one is what I just was talking about, is the data-driven decision-making process, really. Then, of course, and we heard a lot about this yesterday, and that's the whole automation of entire workflows and speed to decision. And then the last one, which is the one we really all get super excited about, and that's a great area too, is this, the generation of, or the ability to create new products that are literally impossible without an AI. And I have an example about that also later. So, Shashi from BMS yesterday was talking a little about the challenges in healthcare. So I'm going to do this a little quick. So emerging markets, we're all dealing with that and different challenges there. The healthcare industry is doing something right because we, as a population, become older and older. But that also brings a whole different set of healthcare challenges and demands from the market. If you follow the news, there's a lot going on in terms of reimbursement for drug companies specifically. So it's a lot more about value delivered and outcomes, which again, we need to rethink how we actually do our evidence generation, and AI is a great help there. Privacy, transparency, and the evolution of the tech revolution itself, are also changing the way healthcare has to think about their patients, because we're not only, becoming more connected or have a more convenient life with lots of apps, we are actually changing lifestyle. Okay, so we have J&J, and especially in the pharma area of things, across the value chain we have AI type functions. So we have in research, heavy footprint, there's a lot of opportunity there and always was. Clinical trials, we are using AI, we are really sort of redesigning how we run clinical trials. Business development is an area which is extremely important for large pharma companies, which constantly have to look for external innovation drugs that they can in-license to augment the portfolio. And there we do a lot with AI-type systems. Regulatory affairs as a regulated industry, that's something where we can use AI, because we have seen what the olden days, what a drug application looks like. It's a truck of paper, and now it's electronic, but there's a lot that can be done with AI in this space. Supply chain and manufacturing is a natural area for AI, and automation of things and surveillance of product lines. We heard yesterday a lot about commercial applications of AI, and that's also true for healthcare. So we are using in different scenarios there AI-type technologies, and then at the very end, but in a way most excitingly, there are the ones which are directly impacting the patient. And they are, at the end of the day, what we care most about, and that's really exciting to see what's happening there. I just wanted to mention there, connected to AI is, of course, data. And when you talk about healthcare, there's one specific area of data which is game-changing for the industry, which is called real-world data. So typically for decades, we have been dealing with clinical trial data, and that's great. But clinical trials is, it's a highly controlled environment, and you can, the biggest clinical trials with tens of thousands of people is still a super small snapshot compared to like the millions of patients who later are using the drug. So real-world data is any patient-level data outside a clinical trial, so in the real world. And that data was always around, but not in significant numbers. Now, luckily we have electronic medical records, we have hospital data, we have claims insurance databases. So we have a lot of patient-level data, which helps a lot redefining close to anything we are doing. And that data is extremely big, it's super diverse, it's updated constantly, and it's a great playing field for AI-type technologies. So the first example I wanted to show you is from the business development area. So I was just mentioning Johnson & Johnson, like many other pharma companies or big pharma companies, we always are on the lookout for interesting drugs that are out there which would help our portfolio and that we can partner with or in-license to speed up the development. And that problem is in a way very similar to what's happening in the sports industry, where any team is always looking for sort of young, talented players, and they want to get contract with them early, because they know once they're sort of the LeBron James of the world, you can't really afford them anymore. So for many years we know there were scouts being used to find these players and a lot of experience, and people thought, for whatever reason, somebody becomes like a superstar later. But that has been largely replaced with data-driven approaches. And we are trying to do the same. We are trying to find a young drug, hoping that it becomes like a successful drug and blockbuster later. And what that means is we have to start in-licensing a compound while it's not a drug. It's a development drug. It's in clinical phase somewhere, and it can fail at any point in time along the way. So, when you know something about clinical development, there are 3 different phases. And the further along you are, the lower the risk, the higher the value. So you need to find sort of the sweet spot, and there's different reasons what the sweet spot may be. For this, we focus on oncology, and we look at phase 2. And we know, the ultimate goal is regulatory success. And that's directly correlated to the value and the productivity. As we know, the technical success, which is the regulatory success. And then we look, or what we have done usually, we look at the history and we see, okay, the phase transitions for oncology drugs, and once you are in phase 3, so after phase 2, there's a 40-something% chance that you actually get approval. So what happens then is, we take that information and all the other diligence information about the drug, and we have a meeting. And we are discussing, and we have a series of meetings, and people are making statements. And so these are real statements from real meetings, from real business leaders. And what they're highlighting is, even though not everybody of you may have the background to understand what this means, but these are all opinions, really. At the end of the day, it's like statements about things, how people feel about it, but it's